きつき狂うぞ。私はいかなる代償を払ってもまさかこの星の土をまた踏めることになろうとはな。私はレインフォルスクリムゾニアの大使である。あの悲しい過去を少しだけ忘れることができた。ラングリッサー、そしてアルハザードの力、その正体は青き月ペイリアを操る常人には扱えぬ力なのだ。クリムゾニアのために全てを覆す。ラングリッサー。
Hey everyone, this is Nitro. So in this video I'm going to be spectating the Roylee and Manson match, and I don't know who the drivers of the two accounts are. I know Manson's should be Dango. I don't know who's controlling Roylee's account. So let's take a look at how the pick ban has gone so far. I see the time counting down to the very last bit. So Juggler ban and then Estelle. Oh, Dango changed up his box dramatically here, it looks like. Estelle as one of the tanks. And is that the only tank? That is the only tank. Interesting. Oh no, sorry. There's Estelle and Juggler, but Juggler got banned. So Rin and Hie, the next two bans, interesting. So Dango decided to switch to a much more aggressive strategy compared to before. Is what this looks like. As a side note, I'll do a review of my match against Dango yesterday. You know, I got pretty much slaughtered, but I felt like the first battle, I could have taken it with a bit better play. It was an interesting first battle. The second battle, he just flat out killed me in pick ban. But I'll review that, I guess, in a separate video. In any case though. So, Dango chooses Zerida after banning Liana and Deedlit. So he's forcing a Waller selection for the healer. Ares, Leonhard now are banned. Interesting. Is Roylee not afraid of Yusuke at all? Oh, hold on. Sorry, there is Iris and Waller. There was, so I'm very, very curious. What is going on here? So let's see what he decides to do. Dango, that is. Is he going to go for Yusuke or is he going to go for someone else? So, Rin and Yusuke ban for Roylee. Nope, Ariane Rod. So, two AoE attackers, Estelle and Ariane Rod. Ariane Rod has 3 faction buffers available. Yusuke, Joshua, and Gizarov. So there's lots of options to buff her. To be fair, Vermilion, I actually felt if I had made some action adjustments, or if Dango made a few mistakes, I could have come back in that first match. But it was interesting nonetheless. Some of it was also just sheer limitation of my character star levels. But regardless, let's just see how this continues. So Roylee gets a 3rd action Zerida. Yeah. Dango's adjustments to his box seems like it's giving him a pretty big advantage, I think. Okay, so Iris and Gizarov ban, and Dango chose to play Joshua instead of Yusuke. That's interesting. And not what I would have expected. But okay, that's 3 AoE attackers. So Manson now loses Yusuke, as well as Iris. And I guess he's going to play Deedlit. So full attack box, right? Deedlit can provide healing. Estelle can self-heal, assuming she survives. Ariane Rod can avoid taking a lot of damage on the first strike she takes. Interesting. Ariane Rod for both sides. Wow, a super late ban on Ares and Mystery Knight. And Roylee is left with Bozal and Rachel. Bozal's the obvious pick. Excuse me. Alright, so overall, I like Dango's chances here. Dango seriously adjusted his box for this fight, whereas Roylee has kept a very, very ultimately standard box. Characters like Rachel, I don't feel really belong in a fight like this. At least that's my opinion. Yeah, there is Zerda and Bozal for Roylee after all, but we'll see. I don't think Landius will be that much of a threat here, although it should be a Swordsmith Zerda. I'm actually very surprised that Dango chose to pick Joshua over Yusuke. Right? Yusuke could apply the cannot be healed debuff on Landius in this fight. So that was a very questionable choice to me. Let's see how this one plays out. After all, Dango Zerda does have that one extra range against the enemy Zerda. So I just really didn't agree with the Joshua pick. Unless Dango knows something I don't. Maybe Roylee doesn't have enough Swordsmith medals, but that doesn't really make sense either. Right? Roylee is one of the big whales of this game. So, yeah, faction buff sleep black hole. That's pretty much the standard Bozal, which even I use. Let's see, 1304 attack Ariane Rod, 1284 attack Ariane Rod for the other side, 761 defense on that one, 676 defense on this one. Overall, very comparable. Yeah. Zerda brings the faction buff. And Joshua doesn't bring a faction. Oh no, sorry, never mind. Joshua has a faction buff. So yeah, that +1 mobility buff for this Zerda, since it didn't activate Breeze. I suppose that's true, because Joshua's faction buff does provide that AoE skill damage increase, right? Yeah. And theoretically, the other aspect of this is AoE hits that will not trigger while there's high stakes. It's only if the way to get it to happen, high stakes, is if he has Landius attack. So, but then if he attacks, he should be attacking Estelle. So that could be why, as you said, right? Let's see how this goes. If he's relying on 3 separate AoE attacks to maybe crush the enemy, that could be why he chose Joshua instead of Yusuke. Right? Rather than trying to single target down slowly, he's going for that AoE assault. I don't know. We'll see how it works. This is interesting. At the end of the day, I mean, Joshua is one of the characters I've never built, so I don't understand him all that well. At least in terms of utility. Especially at this point where there should be lots of Swordsmith medals on characters. So, no tactical retreat for Wilder. He chose Strengthen and Regroup instead. And he also, and because he chose that combo, Wilder has Shrine Maidens rather than the other choices, right? Because Wilder has 3 useful soldiers, right? Shrine Maidens is 1, the Forest Priest for removing debuffs is a 2nd, and then the 3rd one is the catapults that I frequently use. So let's just see how this plays out. It'll be interesting to see if, you know, Estelle AoE, Joshua AoE, Area and Rod AoE, the 3 AoEs can wipe out characters with Swordsmith medals equipped, right? I'm assuming Landius has a Swordsmith, and I'm assuming Bozel has a Swordsmith. Like, Bozel has to, with 3 movements. But whether Landius has a Swordsmith or Overlord's badge is kind of unknown. Given the defense and magic defense, I have to assume it's Swordsmith as well, though. Bloodthirster activation on a interesting tile. Why here? Oh, this is so frustrating. I can't see how far the 8 movement is. That sucks. They should let us see exactly how far, you know, movement range is. I'd have to count it out. Right? So it would be something like, let's say, what? This is 8 movement, so there's something like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Something like that. So this is as far. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all the way to here. That's not very far. So Gospel casting. And then a Sea of Miracles casting. Interesting. A gospel now on Ariane. Oh. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah, the whole... Well, I'm not sure Joshua's going to be great against Bozel. We'll see, I suppose. As I said, he has a Swordsmith. Although he does have lower defense than expected at 603, it's still pretty high. And Joshua does have 1472 attack. So, once again, we'll see. There is no fixed damage, that's the point. Yeah. This is going to be interesting. You know, like, I mean, if he ran this party against me, I don't think he'd have an issue. I don't have enough swordsmiths in the first place, right? There were so many strategies Dango could have run against me, frankly. But regardless, this strategy against Roylee I find is interesting. So. Oh, maybe if he Sturmlances, he might kill this Zerda? No, Wilder can regroup him right now. Yeah, I think the action now is Wilder regroup on Zerda and have her charge in. Probably. the interesting thing there is, yeah, that's what I would do. I'd probably regroup while, well, you'd have to actually. Yeah, there we go. The regroup on Zerda. She gets to act again. She can probably attack this Joshua from this city wall tile, and if Arianrod strikes, perhaps, to break last rights? Or can Zerda just assassinate without even having last rights activation? Let's see. Grand Cross. Alright. That did a lot of damage to Landius. Because Lancer class against Cavalry Landius. Right. So he did, I mean, there are, with the two Lancers, Landius is in trouble, that's for sure. So I'm actually surprised he chose to run Royal Cavalry. Right. That's kind of why yesterday I ran the infantry soldiers on my Landius. But moving on. So what is going to happen here? Grand Cross in retaliation. Boom. Break guard, right? Damage Joshua. And now Joshua should be killed. Or maybe even this Arianrod. Yep. So it went for the Arianrod. So yeah. That won't do much. Well, it kills Wilder, but it triggers Wilder's high stakes, or triggers Wilder's talent buff for all these characters now. I guess Joshua can retreat back. But he didn't. He chose to stay here. Why? I think the action now is to have Landius attack Joshua, maybe. Right? Get the Desperate Prayer healing, get the Prayer healing. There's still a chance. I mean, Estelle, after all, has an incredibly high defense. So it's not like it's over yet. But I think the action right now is to have Landius attack Joshua, probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because Bozel can't move in at this time. At least not yet. Oh. Or he can do that. That was different. Is it because Arianrod has the magical barrier, not the physical one? That might be why he did that. Yeah. Since it no longer has the physical barrier, he chose to get Arianrod to safety with Sturmlance. Yes, good point. Peace of Mind does, but he doesn't have the Peace of Mind buff right now. I saw it get stripped by Ariane Rod. Because Ariane Rod's Geraint Cross dispels 3 buffs. And that was one of the buffs Landius lost. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which means Bozol, if he moves here to put Estelle to sleep, she's going to die. So very limited actions for Roylee to take at this time, until this Zerda acts. Oh. Dango's turn advantage may come into effect here. Because he's going to have, what I mean is, he's going to have Zerda move to here, for example, right? And then that way Zerda won't heal from her meteor buff. And then Zerda may be able to use the killing blow attack to kill this Zerda. Maybe. At least I think that's what he's aiming for. Right? He won't have the Bloodthirster buff anymore, right? So he's not going to be doing, 30% damage dealt increase and so on. But you can still attack with all your soldiers dead with Killing Blow. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, I mean, Dango's strategy was clearly a commit, right? He had to push hard in right away. So what I'm expecting now is Zerda to here, Bozol to probably sleep Estelle, oh, that was different. Oh, she could reactivate Bloodthirster again? How did that work? Did she just activate Bloodthirster 2 turns in a row? Seriously, how did that work? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She can attack that other Zerda. That's not good. Oh. Ozol Black Hole instead of a sleep. Okay, fair enough. Oh yeah, okay. Sleep wouldn't have worked. Estelle's immune to all debuffs. I'm so confused. Did I miss a few steps? Like, I thought this was casted on Ariane Rod, right? I thought Gospel was casted on Ariane Rod. How is Estelle also immune to all debuffs right now? I feel like I really missed a few steps. Oh, okay. Thank you, Daba. Deedlit. Deedlit Sea of Miracles. Okay, that explains it. Deedlit Sea of Miracles reduces the cooldown of skills by 1. So that's why Zerda was able to activate Bloodthirster twice. And interesting, he didn't choose to kill Zerda. Probably because she couldn't. If she did, she's stepping into poison with this positioning. So if she kills here, then retreats 2. That could work, but then the enemy Zerda gets to kill her. Yeah, I think Roylee has this. Another thing I learned. Okay, and Phoenix Wave grants immunity for 2 rounds. There we go. So, Sea of Miracles cooldown reduction and this Estelle Phoenix Wave immunity. There are too many little things to learn. Seriously. like there's just so many heroes now, and each hero has so many little unique things. So learn something new about Estelle. Zerida's, sorry, Deedlit's Sea of Miracles I kind of knew, but yeah, I mucked that one up. And I guess Deedlit is gonna go kill, or try to kill, Landius? No. Kill Bozel? I still don't think she can, well, maybe. 1154 defense Bozel against a Deedlit with 1607 attack. But Deedlit has full hit points. Oh no, he went after Rip. That would never have worked. I don't understand. Rip? Rip, 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 rip. He might have had a choice to attack Bozel, but no, Bozel would have healed up too from Desperate Prayer. And this will not... Oh, this did kill. Okay, fair enough. So at least Arianrod is taken out. But now Zerda can kill the other Zerda. Right? Probably. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I mean, that's expected. And now Landius can attack this Deedlit to heal to full health. Right? With Desperate Prayer. Or heal up the Royal Cavalry a bunch anyways. They're not going to be at full health, but they'll heal up quite a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Oh, he didn't choose to do that. He chose to have Bozel strike. Okay, interesting. Can't say it's wrong. A lot of little different things I would have done there. I mean, Roylee already has a big advantage at this point, but I thought Landius would have probably attacked. And now the battle is over. Right. Bozel can sleep this Estelle at will. Yeah, Death Queen, Wyler has become pretty much a must build. But he's been pretty much a must build for like several seasons now. There's a reason I built him as one of my earliest characters, even though I said he was like a whale toy. I mean, there weren't to be fair, there weren't very many options for Dango at this point. Infantry Deedlit is inherently not very good against Landius. So, you know, it is what it is. I still think Yusuke would have been a better choice than Joshua for that first match. Like as that battle showed, I didn't think Joshua could have that much of an impact, and he didn't. Although, to be fair, even if Dango did that adjustment, I'm not sure he could win that fight. So, it is what it is. I'll also review a few other matches that occurred yesterday. The one match I really wanted to go over was BGuy's match yesterday. So after this one, assuming it's short, I'll go review BGuy's match and see how much time there is to review some other matches in the playoffs that have been interesting so far. Yes, I am too. Yeah, so yes, Deedlit, the whole time and space team has all been swapped out, right? Deedlit, Leonhard, Joshua, Estelle. Why did I get this invite? Okay. So yeah, massive team change at this point. I mentioned before, right? If you plan to face off against Landius, you have to use a Mage Deedlit, like I did. At least if you plan to kill Landius with melee strikes, right? It's very, very bad idea in my opinion to use an Infantry Deedlit against Landius in his Cavalry class. But anyways. Okay, so this time Wilder is banned and Liana. And he's gone for Hiei. So Juggler ban, Illustrial, and then Reen. Reen. I would not be surprised, Death Queen, honestly. Roylee is a really good player, first of all. He's put in enough money into his account to have very powerful enchants and everything. And yeah. And he just makes so few mistakes, right? He understands how to play Apex matches. The only people who can use Arianrod and Reen right now are those who put a lot of money into the banner. Well, I guess I used Reen in my box, but my Reen is just a debuffed Reen, so. But Arianrod for sure, if you plan to use her right now, she has to have money put into her. There's no way you're using a 3 or 4 star Arianrod. At least I don't think you are. You'd also need some pretty specific gear. Like the Apex boots that I don't have. Okay, so I haven't really gone over the pick ban phase so far, but you know, Dango has Landius pretty much expected, right? Hiei, which was an interesting second pick. Licorice and Iris. It's interesting, neither of them is picking Ares at all. That's what I find the most interesting. Dango's Manson. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, frankly. Like, do they not think? Anyways. Okay, so Bozel with Licorice. Okay, so there is a faction buff for her. And on Roylee's side, there's the Ares. Yes, it's Liffany. I really want that skin. And the interesting thing about Liffany's skin is that it's free. So it's a Secret Realm store skin. Because Dango asked if he could, I guess? I don't know. This one's interesting. I think Ares may very well dominate this match. Let's see if Ares can one-shot Licorice with AoEs. That may... But she doesn't necessarily need to either. Okay, so I'm surprised Roylee did did a 4th pick Rachel here. That's one of the big surprises to me. But with Rachel and Deedlit for Gospels, that might be what Roylee's aiming for the immunities. 2 characters with immunities against Licorice, right? Reen is here for debuffing, and you know, burn effects for fixed damage, and then with Ares for his AoE as well. And Roylee also has Rachel for Runic Void. So there's enough AoEs on Roylee's team to really rip apart Dango's party. This one's going to be interesting to see, right? Dango's party does have the ability to teleport Hiei forward and have Hiei attack twice. Leviathans is an interesting choice for this map, because Leviathans can only position themselves on the central line, right? So the only way this Hiei can attack is if he's in the water on the center line. That kind of means if Roylee positions characters, let's say up here in the mountains, Hiei can't attack them. So that's a very interesting choice. Risky as hell, frankly speaking. But Dango is trying to run an assault strategy over and over again against Roylee. And Roylee's the one playing defense. So that's why he's running Sorceress Soldiers, right? In case he needs to do single target strikes and so on. Interesting. Rachel decided to bring Arcane Blast rather than Runic Void. That I actually don't understand. I would have thought Runic Void with the fixed damage would be much more useful in this battle. Right? 5 fixed damage debuffs. So that's a bit of a surprise to me. Yes, the fixed damage debuffs won't affect Bozo and won't affect Landius either. But they are stacks of debuffs that are annoying to remove, if nothing else. Right? Combo with Green. I don't know. Maybe he's preferring the minus 30% magic, the 30% magic defense reduction. But the flip side of that is between Licorice and Iris, he should be able to easily remove that debuff. So I think, I don't know, I feel like that skill choice was a bit of a mistake. It's hard to say though, right? Because keep in mind that Runic Void is 3 costs. So with, like, right now Rachel can run Dark Reaper, Gospel, and Arcane Blast. If she chose to run Runic Void, you'd have to run something like Runic Void, Gospel, and then Lightning Strike. I thought that would be okay, but maybe Roylee feels that Rachel needs to heal up, right? It's more important to heal up after combat than it is to not be able to do that. Okay, Hiei is teleported forward. He can move 4 tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. AoE blast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit Rachel and then attack Rachel. But Rachel has Crystal Warlocks. I'm not sure that's going to be enough damage to kill. 1, 2, 3, 4. AoE blast. Then where? You're attacking from the bridge tile. Are bridge tiles considered water? Does anyone know? That's the other question I have right now. Why didn't Hiei teleport all the way forward in this line? That's what I don't really get. Right? If you teleported him here, then he could move like 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. AoE blast, then move 3 more to attack any target. Is it to avoid Ares? Well, we'll see. He activated... Did he activate Breeze? No, he didn't. But he has 5 mobility, sorry. So, oh wow, he got 5 mobility. So, he could attack Ares and actually kill him. Alright, that was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting. So the Ares threat has been eliminated by Hiei. Which is well worth it. Hiei would have been probably the most dangerous threat in this fight for Dango. So that was a well performed action. Yeah. He basically, you can say he pretty much capitalized on the mistake that Roylee did with the Ares positioning. Or rather, the positioning of other characters to protect Ares. Right? If he had blocked the path a little to Ares, then Ares would not have died there. But by leaving it completely open, Ares got killed. So, it is what it is. Yeah, I didn't expect that he could move that far and attack. I wonder what happened. I really want to go back. I'd like to see what gear Hiei had to have that kind of rage. I'm not sure did he have, I don't think he had Breeze, Vermilion. He had 4 base movements. So that's why I really want to see what gear that he has on that Hiei. Right? Because he was able to move 4 tiles initially to attack. And then he activated and then was able to move into Dragon of Darkness Flame, gave him 1 extra movement. So that's why I was saying I was curious what gear that he's running on that Hiei. Is it actually something for +1 mobility? Like, I don't know. You know, speed boots or something similar? It very likely was speed boots though. Because the base attack value was like what, 1000? Iris Teleport just gives ignore mobility penalties from terrain. It doesn't give any extra mobility. So I'm not, yeah, he either had a speed boot or a plus, the defense one. Spirit boots and speed boots? Was that it? I can't remember the name of the defense increasing pair of boots, but you know what I mean, guys. Yeah, off meta. Off meta equipment, off meta. I mean, Hiei is not an off meta character, but that was definitely an off meta piece of his gear on Hiei. But nonetheless, this battle, let's see how this one turns out at this point. Dango is playing very, very defensive, setting up these buff effects, or debuff effects in this case. He's using Massed Heal to apply terrain effects. Right. He created some Breath of Life tiles in the back, and now he's created some Breath of Darkness tiles here. Because I got beaten yesterday, Chorus, by Dango using the Manson account. Divine Boots. Thank you, Death Queen. Spirit Boots, Divine Boots, they sound so similar I can never remember. Alright, so the double gospel. Okay. So Rachel's immune to debuffs, Reen is immune to debuffs, Landius is not, and Landius got disabled passives and increased damage taken. But with Landius' defense and magic defense values, 963 and 859, he's going to be very difficult to kill. Even with that. Okay. So. AoE. Right. 2 burn debuffs. Cannot use passive skills. Heal prevention, heal reversal, burn debuffs. Wow. Heal reversal and a burn debuff. So he didn't get as many debuffs as you would expect there just now. And Breath of Darkness has been increased. And some healing was applied. And some debuff removal, which was just the burn debuff, 1 each. So they kept their heal reversals. Actually, it's kind of funny. But getting both of this means that it's just Bozel cannot be healed. Right? Because both of these prevent the target from being healed. And since they're not getting healed at all, there's not going to be any conversion. So, AoE Hell attack for both sides. Licorice didn't activate clocks, right? So there is no more Dark Despair. Although Mass Heal is available yet again. How was my day? Not bad. Usual day. Working on some videos, you know. Just haven't posted the videos yet. The usual. Alright. Landius against Landius. First Landius kill for Dango's Landius. And since it can't get healed, it's dead. heal on Licorice though. And Goddess Tier, hoping to remove that heal reversal, but no go there. And I don't know if it's mentioned, because Ares never got to act, Roylee is acting first right now. So for example, if Rachel strikes Landius, she's with Dark Reaper, she's going to heal up from that. Oh, nope. Sea of Miracles to start. Not a bad move either, but Landius gets put to sleep. Rachel's probably take out Landius and then follow up with Reen or something. There we go. Yeah, so she heals up to full, removes, and 3 against 4. But the double immunities, the double gospels is really helping. Although Rachel now has lost her gospel, but still. Reen can still jump in. Bozel's basically dead, right? Another Dark Despair. Huh. Okay, I was wrong by the way. She activated clocks, and she activated clocks again. So she's going to be able to keep launching out these Dark Despairs. She actually managed to silence this Rachel too. So this Rachel can't gospel anymore. Although whether she needed to is debatable at this point. And Dango gets to act first next turn. Alright, so this second AoE cannot be healed has been applied to Licorice. So Iris didn't get silenced though. So that was fortunate for Dango, but I still think Dango is screwed. One of the heal reversals has been removed, but cannot be healed is still here. Licorice, another Dark Despair. I would say at this point Landius attacks Bozel. Yep. Death Breath! Huh! A Reaper's Helm! Interesting! And then Roylee gets to move 3 characters in a row. Although they all have quite a few debuffs. And are damaged. But I think first up would be Reen to attack. And then maybe... This is interesting. I mean, there's enough debuffs on these two that they're in quite a bit of trouble, right? But yeah, Dango concedes. It's 2v4 still, despite that, right? With both Reen and Landius at high hit points, there's no issue with taking out Licorice. And once Licorice is dead, it's just facing off against Iris. Yeah, that was very interesting to see, that Reaper's Touch on Landius instead of a Fury of Tyr. I can certainly see why he chose that though, right? I mean, ultimately this extra 10% damage dealt and so on, and counterattack damage doesn't very often let your Landius kill things. So yeah. Interesting choice. Okay, so why don't I take a look now at, I think, BGuy's battle. Which group was it? I'm gonna have to look around. Here. So BGuy lost his match today. Zanson winning, but that was mostly expected. What I wanted to actually go over though was BGuy's battle yesterday against ShelfanielFTW for the win. This was actually a very, very interesting fight. Okay. Alright, so first things first. The box of BGuy. Renata is in this box. This is pretty much a dark box. Dark and princess, okay? With a few other characters mixed in, right? Akaya is here, for example. Imelda is here for the mobility buff. Gizerov is here to buff up various dark characters and mythical characters. Renata is here. There's Licorice and Bozo. So this is a very, very offensively oriented box. In fact, he went to the extreme of removing his tanks. There is just I think there's Juggler, and is that the only tank? Yeah, that's the only tank. So Estelle is not here at all, just Juggler. Right. And then on ShelfanielFTW for the win side, ShelfanielFTW is running very much a, I guess, more or less standard box, right? Landius and Juggler, Rachel, Liana, Iris, Dietlit, Wilder, Luna. I mean, this is the only non-standard thing is ShelfanielFTW being in this box. That's pretty much it. The only unique thing is that ShelfanielFTW's in this box. Everyone else is a totally standard meta character. I actually don't understand why he's using ShelfanielFTW, frankly speaking. But regardless, let's take a look at this. So, Juggler ban for BGuy because he's running this AoE-oriented assault box, and ShelfanielFTW bans his Juggler, removing the only tank. ShelfanielFTW plays Landius, and now Claret and Ares are both removed. The high mobility attackers who could attack these weak characters have both been eliminated. And BGuy starts off with Ares. So Imelda, Iris eliminated on that side, and yeah, Rachel is picked for ShelfanielFTW for the win. So Liana Dietlit removed, and we have Bozo, AoE attacker, dark faction buffer, lots of reasons to play him. So with that, Zerda and Listellar ban, two dark characters, while ShelfanielFTW plays Wilder. So ShelfanielFTW is playing a very defensively oriented healing kind of box, going for gospel, that kind of stuff. I'm not sure I would have picked Rachel over, let's say, Dietlit, but at least Rachel has a faction buff, unlike bringing Dietlit or Liana, right? So there is that reason. So Zerda and Yusuke ban, and Licorice, so second dark character. Luna and Yusuke are now banned. Very iffy to me, right? This was probably the most iffy ban of this, in my opinion. I mean, Luna was probably to prevent Wind God Realm from buffing up everyone's mobility to AoE Assault properly, but yeah, it was interesting there. So ShelfanielFTW now plays Listel. So it's all US Legends so far. And BGuy now bans ShelfanielFTW and Bozil, leaving Luna and Iris. And BGuy chooses to play Gizaroth, so another dark hero. Now Akaya and Angelina are banned. I would not have banned Angelina, but that's me personally. Okay. ShelfanielFTW plays Luna. I would have gotten rid of Renata at that point, honestly. Because Renata can still get faction buffed as a dark character. Akaya would have made sense for sure, but I think I would have banned Akaya and Renata there, leaving the choice of Angelina and Diedlet. So in any case, BGuy's final pick then is of course Renata. To be fair, I'm sure ShelfanielFTW was so thrown off by this, he didn't really understand what to ban either. This is not a common box, right? But the end result is BGuy for this first match got to play 4 dark characters and Ares. And now... So ShelfanielFTW has a very standard strategy of tank all those AoEs, survive them, be able to make your characters immune, and Wilder for removing debuffs and tactical retreat and so on. Interestingly enough though, he's choosing to kind of push in. Right? Luna activated Wind God Realm and faction buff right away. Alright. Meanwhile, BGuy is just also pushing forward. So I should mention, BGuy got lucky here. Gizaroth provided that +3 mobility buff to Licorice. So Licorice right away was able to charge forward, Demonic Advance, and then Dark Despair. So, AoE Assault begun right away. Right. Luna doesn't do all that much damage because of Luna's damage reduction against magic attacks. Right? But some damage has been taken by everything. That's really the point. In the first place, Licorice really doesn't have that much int in general, and when you're fighting against characters with high magic defense, which is what ShelfanielFTW for the win picked, it's hard to do all that much damage with Licorice. So, also aggressively attacking, starting with the Blood Dance. So, Licorice retaliates with Dark Dragon's Breath, killing off right away, killing off Wilder. So this was actually a mistake by ShelfanielFTW, by the way. If Wilder had set up back here, right, clicking back on him, right, his talent affects characters from 5 blocks. So if he had set up 1 tile back like this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then if he was that far back, this Licorice would not have been able to kill Wilder. So that was one mistake in battle that he made. I mean, he wanted to give the gospel effect to Listel, so that's why he moved him like that, because it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to affect Listel, right? But the drawback of that was it ended up with Wilder dying. Alright. So another AoE. Right. More damage. Licorice dies to Rachel. And various characters, those debuffs that Licorice applied have been basically removed, right? Luna had a cannot be healed debuff, but with Rachel's attack removing the debuff, it ended up being fine. But now Bozo jumps in next. Black Hole, new debuffs, right? Cannot be healed yet again on Luna. and also cannot be healed on Landius. So 2 cannot be healed debuffs with that one black hole. Since Luna is no longer healing, Bozo doesn't die. Right? If Luna had healed to full health for that Raging Thunder, Bozo was dead. But since Luna didn't heal at all, Bozo lives. And so this was interesting, okay? Renata moved in front of Bozo to protect Bozo, and then launched out sorry. I need to go back. So many things just happened. Okay, let me just go back there. So, I thought I paused it, but Renata starts by launching out her Empowered Dragon Seal on this Landius. So, with that debuff, Landius now takes 40% increased damage from Renata. Right? And since Landius chose, and also gets his passive disabled, more importantly. So the combination of those two things made it so that Landius can't revive. So when Landius attacked this Renata, he killed himself. So the use of Empowered Dragon Seal onto this Landius caused it to die. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, if he didn't attack, he would have been probably dead anyways next turn, but the attack just caused this Landius to die. And then, of course, the next turn, Gizaroth has the Construct move up, launch out his Ultimate Construct AoE to do more fixed damage, and then this further applied 2 more debuffs on Luna, and the Ultimate Construct gets to act, right? So, hold on. There we go. There's the Ultimate Construct. The debuffs on Luna now is a fixed damage one and a mobility reduction one. And now the Construct gets to strike. So that strike was a little bit iffy in my opinion, because Rachel has immunity to all debuffs as well as Desperate Prayer. Unlike the others, she never got Cannot Be Healed applied onto her. So, but yeah, so that attack didn't make sense to me. But with that said, there weren't very many targets for this Ultimate Construct to attack. It didn't have, it didn't have the buff that gives him reduced damage taken and damage dealt increase, right? So it certainly can't attack a melee Luna. It can't attack a melee Listel. So I guess he just chose to attack Rachel just because. There weren't any other targets to attack. That's simple. So now Ares moves back to avoid I don't know why actually he moved back. And then moves forward to launch out his AoE. So this full AoE team except for Renata is just debuffing everything and annihilating everything with AoEs. Right? Luna dies right there. Because this is a physical damage AoE. So now it's just Rachel and Listel against 4 heroes. Rachel wipes out Renata now. Listel, or Ares wipes out Listel, who is damaged. And now it's just 3 characters plus the Construct against Rachel here. 2 more buffs applied onto the Ultimate Construct. Once again, it attacks the Ultimate Construct. Once again, because of Desperate Prayer, it doesn't do much. Although, this time around, the Gospel effect was gone. So, the Ultimate Construct was able to apply a 3rd Cannot Be Healed effect, this time on Rachel. So actually, this attack made sense. Right? Since it now had the intermediate strengthening component, so this attack was able to debuff and do damage. And it's over. Right. So ShelfanielFTW concedes. So debuff hell successfully works this battle. Okay. And now BGuy throws in Joshua in favor of Akaya, another AoE attacker, replacing the Akaya who can't do much at the start of the battle. It's a good swap in this case. So, Juggler ban for both sides. Ares again for BGuy, first pick. He's sticking with the same strategy. Imelda and Iris ban for the movement and buff increase prevention. And ShelfanielFTW plays Landius yet again. Ares and Claret, BGuy sticking with the same ban strategy. Again, playing Bozal. Right. Zerda Listel ban. So ShelfanielFTW is still doing the same ban so far. And he plays Rachel yet again. Liana Dietlit. Licorice. Right? BGuy has not changed his strategy. Luna Yusuke. Surprisingly, ShelfanielFTW is not changing his pick ban either. And ShelfanielFTW plays Wyler yet again. Yusuke Zerda ban. And BGuy plays Renata. Now this time around it finally changed. Gizarov and Dietlit have been removed. Right? So that third AoE attack has been removed. And ShelfanielFTW plays Listel. So BGuy bans Luna and ShelfanielFTW and plays Joshua. And ShelfanielFTW gets the opportunity to pick Iris or Bozal, surprisingly choosing Iris instead of Bozal. But I think he's continuing to try to survive this AoE assault. That's his whole goal. Survive the AoE assault, then win the battle with his tank and healers. So, ShelfanielFTW this time around is actually hanging back, unlike before. Playing the same, more or less, strategies on both sides, but ShelfanielFTW is being a bit smarter this time. Instead of trying to aggressively move in, he's holding back. Or so I thought. Then he teleports Listel forward right away. So, Ares runs up. Single target strikes Listel. And it moves away. So he had to do that because Listel... he had to do that because he was worried about Listel moving forward and blood dancing or whatever, I guess. But Ares then gets hit by Mind Bore from this Listel, and that would turn the reinforcements into damage and so on. Going back here, if this was 9,465 hit points, I'm surprised he chose the Mind Bore here. If he had moved up and blood danced, right, Ares would have lost another, what, let's see, half of 9,465 is 4,732 hit points. So this would have reduced Ares to a mere 875 hit points. And that would have meant reinforcements would have killed him. So I'm surprised he chose to use Mind Bore there instead of Blood Dance. Right? Because with this amount of hit points, 25, 21, that's enough. He has enough hit points to survive the reinforcements. So a big mistake, a big misplay from Listel, not using Blood Dance on Ares. Right? He could have moved from here, he could have easily moved here or here to Blood Dance and Ares was dead. But he didn't do so. And so, BGuy follows up with Bozal, putting Listel to sleep. But Tactical Retreat pulls this Listel back to safety. And Ares gets to live. So, one early mistake from ShelfanielFTW has caused Listel to not kill Ares. Right? And now... And unfortunately, so it means Iris has used up her teleport, Tactical Retreat has been used up. 2 big skills have been used up already. Granted, by hanging back like this, ShelfanielFTW isn't in that much danger yet. ShelfanielFTW had the opportunity to wipe out a character, but failed to take full advantage. So now, Renata uses Empowered Dragon Seal on Iris. Or sorry, on Listel. Right? That is supposed to be 3 debuffs. Actually, 4 here. Okay. Mobility -2, cannot guard, cannot use passive skills, cannot benefit from move again, and Dragon Seal. So 4 debuffs. Iris removes 1 with her heal spell. So there's still 3. And it was the Dragon Seal that got removed. But Bozel is able to move forward and launch out the black hole now. Okay. Pushing in now that Tactical Retreat has been used up. Mass Seal is used to remove 2 more debuffs. So there's still 1 debuff applied onto these enemies. Right? 1 debuff on Iris. 1 debuff on Landius. Oh, actually, 2 debuffs on Rachel. And Rachel got a cannot be healed out of it. So, I mean, BGuy was planning, I'm sure, to melee attack Listel with Renata and hopefully kill her with the plus 40% increased damage and ignore guard. It's not happening because Empowered Dragon Seal got removed. But there's a lot of debuffs on Listel anyways, right now. Follow-up AoE from Licorice. And with Breath of Darkness, more debuffs being applied. So the debuff hell is steadily adding debuffs despite all the healing that ShelfanielFTW is trying to do. Right now, cannot disabled passive skills on Landius. No. Listel has a crazy number of debuffs and so on. Regroup is used on Rachel in hopes of removing some of those debuffs, right? And it actually did manage to remove the most important one, which was cannot be healed. So she had 3 debuffs, it was a 1 in 3 chance, and he managed to get it. The 1 debuff that was removed was cannot be healed. So all of his characters don't have a cannot be healed debuff right now. Yeah, Dispel would have been better than Mass Seal, arguably. Or Dispel instead of Regroup. In any case. So, he's actually pretty well set up though, since he managed to get that to happen. Despite everything, the debuffs that are on his characters aren't too bad. But now, the Ares that lived gets to move in and attack. And it reactivates the Resurgent Gale and charges forth and launches Wind Whisper. It does so with that, Rachel is killed. There's the teleport. This is the second AoE strike. Murderous Desire. Iris is also killed. And Wyler. It kills itself because it moved into poison, but it took out 3 characters. So, Ares rushing in. Wyler was killed. Rachel was killed. Iris was killed. Leaving just Landius and Listel against the 4 characters of BGuy. This is why Ares is so goddamn deadly. Pardon my French, but this is why he is so crazy. Right? I mean, if ShelfanielFTW had used Blood Dance early on and killed off that Ares, this would be a very, very different fight. Because at this point, almost all of the AoE attacks of BGuy had been used up and so on. So there wasn't very much follow-up he could do. But because Ares lived, that was the difference. So at this point, ShelfanielFTW concedes. So ultimately, you can say in both battles, if Shefaniel didn't make a lot of the mistakes he did, he could have won them. But because he made small errors, just a wrong skills use and so on, he lost. And more power to BGuy for running such an aggressive assault box and winning. Alright, I guess the last match I'm going to review will be my own match, yesterday against Dango. I don't really want to review it, but I might as well. Basically, just like how Dango got slaughtered by Roylee today, I got slaughtered by Dango in the same way. First things first, full disclosure, I did do a bunch of research on Dango's box beforehand. Let me just quickly see if I can bring that up for you guys to see. I did compile quite a bit of information on Dango's box, so it wasn't like I didn't do any research beforehand. But I also knew that given that Reen and Arianrod just got released, a lot of this information won't be all that useful to me. So let me just quickly bring it up for you guys to see. Okay, so I'm going to just resize this a bit, make it fit the screen better. This should be fine. The first thing I really looked up was the characters that he used and the stats of all of these characters. And actually, if I just zoom out, you can see there were this number of characters that he used in combat. Okay. There were 2 screenshots of Hiei because I noticed that Hiei was used with a faction buff and faction buffless. And even his faction buffless Hiei has kind of insane attack, 1248. With this attack, with backstab, and doing 2 single target strikes, I saw this Hiei kill off an enemy Iris. So backstab doing a bunch of damage to the enemy Iris Bolt Rangers, and then the second follow-up attack was able to finish off that enemy Hiei, or that enemy Iris. So I had to keep that in mind. You know, Illustrial, you know, Rene was in the mix. Interesting point about Rene is very low skill. That's what I saw. Bozol actually didn't have that much skill either, but I knew with Crystal Warlocks I wouldn't be able to one-shot this Bozol. Okay. Rachel also had fairly low skill, but I knew Rachel could also bring Crystal Warlocks. Listel was just insane. The amount of hit points this Listel has, the amount of defense and magic defense, it was just flat out insanity. When I saw this Listel, I just laughed. I didn't know how to deal with her. And yeah, I mean, very powerful juggler, very powerful Landius. Frankly speaking, looking at all these characters was kind of depressing because I didn't know how to deal with most of them. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, it was just nasty. So, but yeah, these were his characters that I saw in previous matches. The Iris that he killed had the following stats, with 2 single target strikes without any skills, without any buffs. Right, 211 skill, 521 defense, some pretty well built Bolt Rangers. And finally, the box that he ran for various battles, what I saw was mainly this. Yeah. The main changes that he did was a swap between Illustrial and Rachel, and then a swap between Renata and Licorice. Okay. To swap out those 2. I knew there would be other adjustments though, but I wasn't sure how he would adjust to fit in the new characters, like Arianrod, like Reen, and like maybe Gizaroff, right? So I wasn't sure which characters he would remove for that. So, but when I jump into the match, what I saw was the following. So this is the background story of Manson's account, right? Very, very powerful, very ridiculous, and the strategy he ran against me was basically more or less the box that I'm kind of building towards, more or less. Okay. Ares, Gizaroff, Bozol, Licorice, right? Renata, Reen, Arianrod. Yusuke, he basically removed more single target damage dealers like Deedlit and so on to throw in AoE attackers. Made a lot of sense, right? I have to keep Deedlit because I didn't have any real other AoE attackers. I considered moving Lana in as another AoE attacker. That would have been an option for me, but I ultimately didn't do it. I thought that very likely I'd end up with Deedlit as my sole healer. So I was going to rely on Elven Aura to provide some healing to my characters. And I kept 2 assassins, Dark Assassins, which was Omega and Zerida. Okay, so the picked bans for the first game went fairly well for me. Juggler, we both banned Juggler because we're both running AoE boxes. We both play Landius at the initial phases. I have to ban Ares, and I chose to ban Reen as my second one. Ares ban was forced. Okay, my Licorice, for example, is 4 stars. So Ares can one-shot her with an AoE assault, right? So no matter what, I had to get rid of Ares. That was a forced ban. The second ban was more optional. I had options. I could have banned Bozel, I could have banned Listel. I chose Reen. That might have been a mistake, frankly speaking. But I just wasn't sure. Yeah, I could have, in hindsight, I probably should have banned Bozel or Listel. I play Landius. I lose Liana and Zerida. He plays Bozel. Right? The problem was, if I had banned Bozel, he would probably play Gizerov, like Gizerov or something, you know. In any case, though, continuing on, looking at this in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have banned Bozel or Listel with Ares. So a small mistake there. In any case, so I get to ban Listel and Zerida now. And he play and I play Deedlit first. Right? My thought process there was between Gospel and Elven Aura, she could be quite useful. And so I lose Waller and Iris, my remaining 2 healers after Liana was banned. So Manson plays Licorice. And now I get rid of Gizerov and Renata. Right? I don't want to face a box like what BGuy had. I play Yusuke. Yusuke can buff up Deedlit. Reen and Gizerov are now both banned, right? Gizerov could also buff up Yusuke. So it was a ban to get rid of my faction buffing. And he plays Arianrod. I ban Iris and Liana now, right? Leaving him Yusuke and Waller. And I play Listel. So the reason I left him Waller is because I knew Yusuke could apply the heal block onto Landius. So finally, Ares and Bozel are banned. So this leaves me Omega and Licorice. Very tough choice here. I actually wasn't sure who to play. But ultimately, I felt like Omega probably couldn't one-shot any of these heroes. So I end up playing, he plays Waller, I end up playing Licorice. Alright, so my basic idea was wipe out Landius quickly with the heal block and then finish the attack, and then start dealing with all these guys with single targets after that. His plan, of course, is AoE me to death. So I initially have to move up in a pretty careful way because I have to avoid his ability to hit me with Dark Despair and hit all my characters. So I keep my characters kind of spread out in the back as a result. And I chose the Gospel Landius. He chooses to bring Strengthen on his Waller. So his Waller is bringing Strengthen, Tactical Retreat, and High Stakes. Okay. And Forest Priest for debuff removal. So there's the faction buff. Notice how neither of us faction buffed the first turn. We both activated Peace of Mind on turn 1, then faction buff on turn 2. It just leads to a slightly better situation with regards to using being able to use the skills because if you use faction buff first, then Peace of Mind, both buffs end on the same turn. So it's a little bit awkward there. So we both started with Peace of Mind instead. So he's maneuvering forward with his characters. I'm just shifting back for now. I definitely made some mistakes with this moving back as a side note. You know, for example, Licorice was probably a bit too far back, but I needed to do that to avoid Arianrod from attacking me. Arianrod here had 6 mobility already. So that was because he got a mobility +2 buff, combined with him getting a steel talent buff. So it started at 3 movement +2 mobility, 5, and then 5 plus the talent gave her 6. So here he makes a mistake. He moved Landius up first, which meant that Landius no longer had Mass Protect buff. Right? Mass Protect provides the healing negation. So right away, I jump in on it and have Yusuke launch out his 3C Dark Tinker to apply Cannot Heal Yourself. So Licorice jumps in, single target strikes my Yusuke. But the Zealots actually tank all of that. So I'm now moving in to try to protect Yusuke at this point. And unfortunately, my Gospel also wore off. So the turn 1 Gospel was a mistake. It wore off when I moved Landius in, so he got debuffed 3 times. And cannot use active skills, fixed damage, cannot benefit from move again. So I try to get rid of it. Sea of Miracles with Deedlit. Deedlit has to act again, and she jumps in with a single target strike, Elven Aura, to take out Landius' first life. This is where I make my mistake. Arianrod jumped in and chose to attack me. Okay. I had the opportunity here to maybe kill Arianrod at this point. If I had Licorice range attack Arianrod, then probably Listel single target strike, I could have probably killed her. But without doing that, I instead had Licorice drop out a Dark Despair. This was the big mistake I made. Okay. So I activated Clocks, but Red, and then he activates High Stakes on his characters now, and then I have Listel Mindbore. Okay. So since I didn't choose to attack Arianrod, I had to Mindbore instead in front. Right? I was actually hoping I could finish off this Landius, but the 967 defense and 810 magic defense was just too high. So now, Arianrod jumps in, Grand Cross. 3 buffs are removed from my characters with Grand Cross. And in addition, the Grand Cross provides both physical and magical barriers to Arianrod, so the next attack will not kill her. So now Arianrod is mostly invulnerable to a certain extent. But I'm trying to stick with my strategy of wiping out Landius. Right? So Landius now has 1725 hit points. And I try to kill him off with Licorice. So a second Dark Despair. Nope, didn't happen. I thought the second Dark Despair would really work because first it would heal up all my characters from the AoE that Arianrod did, especially since I did not go into Demonic Event. Second, I thought the damage would be enough to finish off Landius. So it was pretty much a forced maneuver, right? I had to heal up my characters or else he would keep AoE assaulting me. Unfortunately, it doesn't do enough damage. Not even close. Landius took like 600 damage from that AoE. That was it. Nonetheless, I still had some options here at this point. For example, Bozo now moves up and launches a black hole. So, this is where I make my mistake. I melee attack and finish off Landius. This way. What I planned there at this point was, let me just go back before he black holed. What I planned here was to take out Waller. He had 333 hit points. Okay, that's another thing I should probably mention, right? When I had my Licorice AoE with Dark Despair, I thought I might also be able to kill Waller, right? There were two targets at very low hit points. I thought Licorice would be able to handle them, but my Licorice is just too low on int. The 1042 int was not enough to kill off this Waller. It left him at 333 hit points. So this is a star level issue. A 4-star Licorice didn't have enough damage to kill Waller. 5-star might have, but 4-star certainly not. So couldn't kill Waller, couldn't kill Landius, but I still had the chance to finish off this Waller with Listel. Right? Listel could move up and launch out a Reaper's Touch at 4 range to finish off this Waller. But the AoE debuff of Bozo, the black hole, reduced my Listel's mobility by 2. I got the mobility -2, cannot guards effect. So suddenly, Listel went from being able to move up to here to Reaper's Touch Waller to not being able to do so. And Waller lives. So I really had no idea what to do there at this point. And so I chose to kill off the enemy Landius with mine. He activates Demonic Event now. Launches out Dark Despair. Okay. Wipes out my Landius for the first time. Interesting thing to note here is it surprisingly doesn't do as much damage as I thought it does. Right? My Licorice died though. Not enough magic defense. And not enough hit points. Okay. So another aspect of my Licorice being 4 stars. Dying there. But it did trigger, I guess, it did trigger Yusuke. Okay. And if I had a Mimir's War Axe, Yusuke would have started healing up here. I don't. So he did get some healing, but he didn't heal as much as he should have. If I had a Mimir's War Axe, he would heal more. But unfortunately though, I also got applied with cannot be healed on my Yusuke. So that actually prevented Yusuke from healing entirely. So the lack of a Mimir's War Axe on Yusuke really screwed up my Yusuke as well. I think Mimir's War Axe can dispel a debuff. And yeah. Just didn't happen. So now, Power Jack, the problem with having with Listel blood dancing when she has low hit points is, yeah, there were lots of issues. If she blood dances when she's been heavily damaged, it doesn't do all that much damage. So, and then with the mobility reduction, I no longer had a place to move her to blood dance anyways. Right? Now that I got -2 mobility, I couldn't move in to blood dance. But yes, if I had more mobility, I definitely would have done that. Okay, so at this point, you know, the things I could do got narrowed down more and more. He tactically retreats to remove debuffs from his characters. That was the whole point of that one. And you can see quite a few debuffs got removed. So while I have 4, it's 4 against 4, but he's full health and my characters are heavily damaged. And in addition, Deedlit also, when Arianrod activated Grand Cross, the one buff that I really wanted to keep and that got removed was the Elven Aura buff. So I lost that healing effect as well from Deedlit. So with all these effects, with the cannot be healed debuffs on all my characters, the battle was over. So, and at that point, I concede. Power Jack, you know, at that point, my characters were heavily damaged. If I had done that, he would have probably launched another AoE and killed off my characters. That's why I used the Licorice first, because it could heal up my characters to full, or not to full, but it could heal them up to tank the next AoE attack. Otherwise, I would have taken the AoE attack from Bozel while heavily damaged. So, second battle. This battle was flat out won because I did a terrible pick ban and he did a perfect one. Okay. Juggler. I play Landius again. He gets rid of Liana and Zerda now. He's changed his pick ban strategy. He plays Landius. I continue the same pick ban order. I probably should not have banned Reen here, but I continue the same pick ban. And I actually chose to play Hiei. So now I lose Waller and Deedlit. He plays Listel. Right away. Listel. Next, Bozel and Waller are played. And I play Iris. So I now lose Waller and Ares, and he plays Liana. Zerda and Illustrial are played on his, Zerda and Illustrial are banned on his side. And now I play Licorice. So this is where I start screwing up. He had 5 characters to pick at this point, and I lose Bozel and Reen, and he plays Gizaroth here. So the mythical faction buff. At this point, I really should have banned Arianrod and Yusuke. Right? Let him play Licorice. Get rid of these two. This is where I screwed up. Instead, I got rid of Arianrod and Licorice, so he could play Yusuke. So I played my Gizaroth as the last pick. Another bad choice. Really should have done Listel. Okay? And then he gets to play Yusuke as a result. And that right there is over. Long story short, this is where I screwed up. That last ban, allowing him to play Yusuke, just finished the fight. With that said though, even if I had, to be fair, even if I had not done that, I was honestly screwed because of this Listel. The 14,403 hit point Listel meant that Blood Dance does enough to kill my Hiei, and that really says it all, right? Between the 0.1 times damage to break last rites and then the 7,700 damage, my Hiei was dead. So swapping in and using this CA as a second pick was a terrible idea, and yeah. In addition, what also happened was early on, I'm just going to quickly speed it up a little, but early on, he activated a mobility buff on Yusuke. Okay, I pushed in very aggressively here on purpose. Okay. And he moved Yusuke up, and my goal was to try to just force things to happen. So, he's maneuvering forward a bit, and then he activates, when his Gizaroth moved forward like this, Gizaroth applied a +3 mobility buff on Yusuke. That instantly screwed me over, because at that point, what I was counting on was if Yusuke moves here, it only had 4 range. So I placed my Gizaroth basically out of range of this Yusuke. Now that it activated the mobility buff, I was suddenly in serious trouble. And because of the way I placed my Hiei and Gizaroth. with this mobility buff now, I had no proper, I only realized this now, but I had no way of guarding all my characters properly. Right? If I had teleport, for example, I have to move Iris here to teleport Langrisser back. If I teleport to here, then it meant that Listel can mind bore me and Yusuke can hit me with Dark Tincture or whatever. Right? Or he can, and so I screwed up big time with this. Now that he got the mobility buff, I knew I had to sacrifice someone. And it was either Hiei, Iris, or Gizeroff. So right there, that mobility buff screwed up all the things that I had planned to do, and the battle was over. Of course, if I had moved Gizeroff a little bit back, like to this tile, it would have been okay. Because then I could have teleported Langrisser to here. And Langrisser would have guarded Gizeroff, who was in this tile, Iris in this tile, and Hiei in this tile. But since I moved Gizeroff that extra tile forward, suddenly Langrisser getting teleported back here can't protect everyone, and I was screwed. So not much needs to be said. As a result of that, let's see. When I teleported, the end result was Yusuke kills off my Gizeroff, right, for free. So I do exactly what I said. I was teleporting Iris back to defend. I tried to keep Hiei alive rather than Gizeroff. That was the decision I made. And so Yusuke, Listel charges up, begins with a Reaper's Touch on my Iris, and Yusuke charges up and takes out Gizeroff. So he got a free kill right there. He already has the better party, but adding in the extra free kill, and it was totally 100% over. That was it. But ultimately, looking at this in hindsight, my pick ban left me with characters who really could not wipe out Listel. This Listel, with the sheer amount of hit points she had, with the high defense and the high magic defense, I had no way of killing her. Right? Licorice has too low int. Gizeroff and the constructs do intelligence-based damage, so I was kind of relying on that, maybe multiple attacks to take out Listel, but yeah, didn't happen. So it was just a bad idea. My pick ban was, there was no good result for me in the pick ban that would allow me to win this. That's it. And that's everything I wanted to cover. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, as I said, I think I do pretty well in Apex, but once I match up against the top Apex players, my box doesn't have a chance at this time. That's why I'm currently rebuilding my box to an AoE kind of box. But at the same time, I'm realizing that while I can build my box towards an AoE box, I'm missing a bit of too many pieces of critical PvP gear to be able to kind of compete at this time, at the top level. So, you know, I'll continue to play Apex for sure. My expectation is generally I'll end up in the the top 64. If I'm lucky, I might get further, but that's pretty much it. There's no way I'm going to be going deep in. It'll very much depend on who my opponents are. In this case, I ran into Manson at the top 64 level and got eliminated. If I run into Roylee, it will be the same thing. Against people who have lots of, I guess, Sorceress medals and Juggler plushies and that kind of gear, I'm in trouble. Yeah. There are ways, I mean, I actually felt with a few luck elements, I might have been able to win that first match against Manson, but there was no way I was going to win 2 matches in a row against him. Even if I had won that first one, I'm certain he would have started doing a smarter pick ban against me and beaten me. At the end of the day, against Manson's box, my calculations were that I could not face Ares, I could not face Listel, I could not face Bozel. You know. So with all those characters I couldn't face, I could only ban 2 of them. So I was screwed that way. So that's it for this video. So I'll be releasing more videos over the next week. Videos, I guess, about my current box for Apex Arena. Videos about, I guess, the events that are currently running, that kind of stuff. I have a few videos that I still have to compile. For example, videos like about the 3C unlocks, about some Gate of Fates that I've done that I haven't released the videos of. So there's a whole bunch of videos that will be released over the coming week. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this stream. If there's other Apex matches you think I should cover, let me know. I'll try to review them. I might just do some various recordings of these battles just to post onto my stream so that people can watch these fights in the future or something. Let me know what you think about these ideas. And on that note, Nitro